You ever notice how every year it seems like there's always one game that just like gets people talking for all the wrong reasons? And this year, that game is Pragmata. I thought it was worthy of mentioning this. Someone actually said they weren't going to play this game because they were tired of seeing masculine men as father figure roles. And I thought this was funny because, like, if you actually played the game, you would know that it's not really like it's not that type of game. There's so many times where Diana had to save Hugh. And if you don't know, Diana is the AI childlike bot in this game, and Hugh is the space soldier. They're like a team, which I think is the perfect chemistry. But see, I actually played Pragmata, unlike this person, so I know exactly how the story went. And look, there is a few gripes I had, but the story was way better than I ever thought it'd be, especially for such a short game. I mean, a space soldier that has to save the day. I've definitely heard this story before. Fortunately, this is not Mass Effect. Completely different games, completely different stories. This follows Commander Hugh, as I said, not Commander Shepard, sadly. Oh, and we can't forget the miniature soldier in Diana. The funniest thing you can see in this game is when she chows down on some ram. It is the most funny thing you'll see in a game ever. It's like she just took the biggest hit of a plant ever. Like, it is just, look at this. It's just magnificent. But there's plenty of funny moments like this in the game. And I don't want to go into much detail because it is a game that is best experienced through playing it yourself. But I will say that I do like the game just doesn't give you everything in cutscenes. Instead, it kind of wants you to find it through text logs, and it expects you to piece it together yourself, though it does kind of lay it out to you at the end. So you're not going to be completely left in the dark if you're not really looking for these text logs. But I do like that you kind of have to put the clues together, or else there's still a lot of questions that you still don't have the answers to, even after reading all these text logs. But as I said, don't worry. If you're one of those people who can't quite figure it out, it does lay it out to you in the end. But I think one of the better things about the story is that Diana is not just a prop for the story. She is actually integral to the combat as well, which does have its ups and downs. So basically, the combat works in this game as such. You have a hacking mechanic where you don't just shoot the enemies, you have to expose their weak points through this hacking grid. You hack them, it exposes a weak point, and then you shoot that for like max damage. You can still damage them just by shooting their body, but you do very, very minuscule amounts of damage. And in this game, the enemies can have a lot of health, especially the big beefy enemies. But this hacking mechanic can get messy, especially when there's an abundance of enemies. Things can turn into straight chaos. You're trying to hack, dodge, line up shots all at the same time, and it doesn't always feel as smooth as it should. It's a great idea, just not always perfectly executed. Maybe this wasn't intention though. Instead of mindlessly shooting enemies, you need to be strategizing in real time with your weapons and constantly thinking on your toes. I think the best way to describe the combat is scripted. The game really wants you to use your hacks and weapons in tandem with each other, but the combat never really felt tedious or unfun. Just a bit repetitive at times. Luckily, the game is really short. If this was a long game, I do think the hacking gimmick would get old quickly, but it was definitely something unique and fun. I think overall, the combat being rather easy is what made it a little more tolerable. I think if it was harder, the hacking mechanic may not have been fun. But I think one of the things that make the combat feel a little lackluster is the upgrades. Look, the upgrade system is fine. It works, but none of the upgrades ever felt that impactful. Like, you get stronger, but not in a way that really changes how you play. You can switch to hacking those to suit your play style, but for the most part, you kind of just pick whatever works for you. For me personally, I used Confuse because when it got a little bit chaotic, it was always nice to have the big, tough, strong enemies fighting each other, but you kind of just got to chill and unload into them, and they couldn't really do anything to defend yourself yet. It's kind of bit mode, but hey, it worked. Worked for me really well. Though most of the hacking nodes were pretty underwhelming, they did what they were intended to do, but most of them kind of just piggybacked off of each other and were basically just refurbished ideas of each other. None of them really felt too unique that it forced you to change the way you play. They were kind of just there to enhance the hacking, but it didn't really drastically change the way you play. I just felt like it was a great mechanic that was really underutilized, and hopefully, if there's a sequel, they build upon it. I think the hacking mechanic was alright, but the one thing that really was tremendously underwhelming was the weapon system. A lot of the weapons were basically a one-time use. You pick them up, use them, and they're gone until you find them again. And because of that, it's hard to really get attached to anything. You just use whatever feels the strongest and stick with it. Some of the weapons were defensive, some of them were offensive. Some even interacted with the hacking mechanic. Like, for example, there was one that you shoot them and it would shrink the grid size, which made hacking easier, which was really useful for bosses. But I just didn't like the weapons expired and you just had to keep picking them up. I wish they did stay in your inventory and you found ammo as drops. But honestly, the heavy weapons you use weren't even like the worst defenders to this problem. It was your primary. Your primary weapons were incredibly underwhelming. I had mine fully upgraded, and even then, it just did not feel good to use. It feels like it was more for supplemental damage than it was a carry this fight weapon, which is understandable. They want you to use these weapons laid out through the environment, and they really didn't want you using your primary. They wanted you interacting with the hacking grid, the weapons around you, and they wanted you to use these weapons in a specific way. Like, for example, you stasis 3 enemies, which was one of the guns, and then you switch to maybe your grenade launcher and hit multiple enemies at once. Personally, I think the 2 best weapons were the grenade launcher and the shockwave gun, which was the shotgun. But yeah, I think the most redeeming part about the upgrades were honestly collecting them. The exploration in this game was done really well. They showed everything on the map. They showed individual regions of what you were missing. And there's even a pulse when you press X to scan the environment. It shows you where everything is as long as you're close to it. And close is an understatement. You didn't really have to be that close, but it made exploring fun. And like most games, they just have like side content and it's really just there to pad your playtime. And it doesn't really give you much in terms of rewards. But no, this one you actually needed and wanted to find the secrets because they gave you the upgrades for your suits. They gave you the upgrades for your weapons. They gave you hacking nodes. And they did have the cabin tokens, which again, you wanted to get the cabin tokens because they also had good stuff. And I do like that after you beat the game, there was optional content. Unknown Signal is what it's called. Basically, it was like the training sims you did throughout the game, which if you don't know what the training sims are, basically, it's just like challenges. Some of them's time trials, some of them's combat trials, some of them's a mix of both. For the most part, they were pretty easy. Some of them were kind of challenging, especially the last one. I couldn't do it. I tried, couldn't complete it. I still haven't completed it. 5-star difficulty. It's really challenging. If you haven't done it, good luck. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is in terms of optional content. Overall, I think I had a really good time with Pragmata. It was fun and I did enjoy the story. It wasn't the greatest game ever, but I would definitely love to see a sequel. And since you can't truly review a game without putting a number on it, I guess I'll give Pragmata a solid 8 out of 10. That's a very solid 8, trust me.